So it's amazing how many real estate agents I talk to that tell me they need listings as soon as possible, yet they're not working one of the best listing lead sources of all time, regardless of what the market's doing, regardless of the housing market, regardless of prices, regardless of interest rates, regardless of who's the president, and that being probate. And so in this video, we're going to talk not only about this opportunity, but I'm going to walk you through word for word the exact script to use to set listing appointments with these people that have properties that they are now responsible for getting them on the market, getting them sold to settle the estate. And so where I want to start off this video is this. So when we're talking about probate leads, maybe some of you you might say to yourself, yeah, I've heard of that before. What we're talking about specifically is a brand new lead source that Vulcan 7 has just come out with called early probates. So these are listing opportunities that really we've never seen before. And so the main idea is this, that it's one thing when somebody inherits a property through probate and now they're the personal representative or the executor of the estate, and they have paperwork at the courthouse, and that's one thing, because with that comes great competition from wholesalers and investors and other real estate agents. We're not talking about those. We're talking about early probate leads before that process happens. And so my question for you would be this. Imagine a world. Well, I guess this is the easiest way to do it. When people pass away and they don't have their estate, they don't have their will, they don't have those things in place, and this will continue to happen forever, and they pass away and they own real estate. You see, what's going to happen is Vulcan 7 has identified the people in that person's life that are most likely to be named the personal representative. And so the whole idea here is to get in touch with that person prior to the probate process, prior to their conversation with any probate attorney, prior to them hearing from any of your competitors. And so what a great opportunity for you. Now, I'm going to put a link right in the description of this video where you can find access to these leads, number one, and then two, get your hands on my brand new script book that I've been working on for the past year and a half. Many of you have been asking for me, when can I get it? When can I get it? Well, now you can get it. So not only will you get the probate script, but you're going to get access to all of my new prospecting and cold calling scripts, tactics, techniques, including objection handlers, etc., including all my new questioning strategies. It'll give you a real good deep dive into the reverse selling methodology. So there's a link to both of those things right in the description in this video. All right. Now that we've talked about like what these are, the question is, okay, how do I approach this conversation such that A, it's not offensive, and then B, put myself in an opportunity to serve this person at the highest level. Now, if you are not working probate right now, and this is not I wouldn't consider this a probate training video. This is a sales video teaching you how to handle these conversations. But my only point in saying that is this, that these people that find themselves handling somebody's affairs after they pass away, as you could imagine, is very difficult. It's very difficult. And for the most part, the people that handle these properties that go through the probate process, more times than not, don't live in the area in which the property needs to be sold. So they don't have relationships with local real estate agents like they do where they live. They don't have access to the vendors or people they would need to hire to bring a lot of these properties up to selling standards, et cetera. And so there's so many areas for you to be able to help these people, to truly serve these people. And so that's the mindset. My approach, like any prospecting conversation, is that this is a service call. This is a service call. I'm making the call on their behalf for their benefit. Now, sure, do I offer a service in which I get paid for? Absolutely. But here's the thing about probate that is unlike any other potential listing lead in real estate, in that they need your help. Unlike everything else where they may want your help, they may not want your help. In probate, You see, the real estate probate attorney and the person who is that personal representative, it is mandated by the court. It is a judge ruling that these properties must be sold. And so it is not a matter of want. And so if in that in those letters of authority that we get from the courthouse, again, this is not a probate training, these properties oftentimes must be sold in order to settle the estate. And so you have so many opportunities to serve these people. So I'm going to go through this script verbatim, line by line. And again, you can click on the link below to grab a copy. All right. So let me pull this up. So like any cold outreach, we're going to start this off with using some sort of pattern interrupt. All right. So with the leads that you're going to get from Vulcan 7, you're going to most of the time have the name of the person in which you are trying to call. All right. So when you call the person, you most likely will have their name. Ring, ring, ring. Hey, is that Bob? Bob says, yeah. Who's this? The pattern interrupt that we're going to use with a probate conversation is this. Bob, listen, this is Brandon. Don't hate me. I'm a realtor. And before you hang up, I was just hoping you could help me out with something really quick. Would that be okay? Now, we're coming from a place of wanting to open up what we call a curiosity loop here. So in the mind of the prospect right now, they're thinking to themselves, well, I wonder what this call is about. They don't have enough information to make a determination as to whether or not they want to have the conversation, other than we've opened up this curiosity loop in their mind so that the likelihood for them to say, well, yeah, sure, go ahead, what's up, is very, very high. And so when we've tested this, this is above 90%. Okay, so the next thing out of our mouth, once the prospect gives you the go-ahead to have this conversation, the next thing out of your mouth is the most valuable real estate in a cold call. So here's what we're going to say. Well, Bob, I appreciate that. The reason I called is because I handle a lot of properties that go through the probate process here in Tampa, Florida. And the property over there on 321 Taylor Street had just come across my desk with your name on it. And so I just didn't know if you had anything to do with that. I get the feeling you don't. Is that right? Now, most likely the person's going to say, yeah, I mean, that's my uncle's house. That's my grandfather's house. That's my mother's house. That's my aunt's house, et cetera, to which they probably at this moment in time don't even know, they may know, they may not know if they are the person who's legally responsible for the property yet, which is the point. And so we can follow it up by saying, I see. Well, listen, I'm sorry for your loss. And a lot of people, this is a third-party story. A lot of people I work with tell me how overwhelmed they are with the probate process, with everything they have to do. I'm not sure if that's been your experience or not. Now, remember, everything that we're going to do from a technique perspective is going to support the person's autonomy. And so we're not going to put that on this prospect. We're going to communicate in a way that they have full autonomy to respond any way they'd like. So I'm not sure if that's been your experience, but in my experience, many people I've talked to tell me that this thing is just super overwhelming. Now, they're going to respond with something like, well, listen, I don't even know what's going on with that yet. This all just kind of happened. I don't know what's going on. And so naturally, then it makes sense for you to ask the next question in the script, which is, well, got it. And I guess, Bob, while I have you, when it comes to the property itself, I mean, a lot of people tell me they just don't even know where to start when it comes to getting the property cleaned out, handling the estate sale, getting the property ready to be sold. But again, I get the feeling that you haven't come across any of that yet, right? And so again, instead of me approaching the conversation with, well, here's all the things I can help you with, which comes across very, very contrived, right? There's a lot of bias in that conversation. Like, well, of course you're asking me that because you're a salesperson and you're trying to get paid. I'm actually doing the opposite. here are some things that I've heard, but I get the feeling you're going to tell me you probably don't have any of those issues, right? No. Actually, I don't, you're right. I don't know where to start. It is overwhelming. I'm getting the person to argue against the fact that I am wrong, that they are, in fact, dealing with a lot of these issues. And so when they do, to say, yeah, I mean, it's interesting you should bring that up. I don't even know where to start with this thing, quite frankly. I just heard about this. I don't know what's going to happen just yet. I don't know where to start. Then you can just simply ask the next question, which is, yeah, I totally get it. And I guess, Bob, if I were to ask if you've already hired a real estate professional, someone who specializes in the probate process to help you through all of this, it's probably just way too early to have that conversation. Would that be fair? Yeah. You know what? Probably is. But no, I don't know anybody. We're just establishing that they don't have anybody in place to help them through this. And therefore, we know that we could be of great service to this person. This is where we've identified that in question 6. All right. Once they've identified, yeah, I don't have anybody in mind. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. It sets us up to ask then the next question, which is a permission-based question. Okay, well, Bob, can I make a recommendation then before I go? Sure. What's that? What's on your mind? Here's what we're going to say. Well, I don't know. I know you're not ready to do anything yet. Okay. So again, this is language to support the person's autonomy. Now we're going to use a hypothetical question, but let's pretend you thought it made sense to meet at the property. And when I was there, I could show you, you could show me around. And after we met, you genuinely, Bob, believed that I could help you get through this entire frustrating probate process and get this property sold for you. I guess, would there be any reason as to why you would invite me over just to explore this a bit more? We pause for a second and then we follow it up with, because I mean, Bob, let's face it. I mean, you're not going to do anything unless you thought it made sense. Am I right? And they always agree to that. Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point. Then you could follow this up to say, okay, fine. Then what day are you thinking would make sense for us to get together? We get them to invite us. We don't twist their arm. And then we can simply add, when they say, I could probably do something like Thursday or Friday afternoon, you end the conversation before getting into the whole disqualifying of the appointment, which would be another video. You end that by saying, okay, I could probably make that work. And Bob, in the meantime, can I ask you, would it be helpful if I emailed you a copy of my resume? Which would probably answer most of the questions you have about this guy who's just randomly calling you. Or would you just end up deleting it? No. Actually, that'd be really helpful. Please send that over. Here's my email address. And so the script is written in a way where you get that appointment. Obviously, it's not going to happen every single time. But what I always tell agents that I coach is, before you can generate a lead, before you can not set this appointment and generate this a lead and get into the whole follow-up, which again will be a whole separate video, you have to first, a lead can only be a lead because you've asked for the appointment. And so the way in which the script is written is for you to get through this entire conversation and yes, ask for the appointment, knowing that most of the time you're not going to get it because it's so premature. But then that sets up the idea or the next steps as to what that lead follow-up could look like. So if the person says, listen, I'm not ready to do any of that right now. I'm not ready to meet with you. We know that the likelihood of that is very, very high. Then it sets us up to say, yeah, listen, all good. I know that you're just getting started. And so as you start to deal with some of these things and as you have questions that come up, would it upset you if maybe you and I were to have another conversation about this here in the near future? No, actually, that'd be great. I'm glad you called. Awesome. Then I could ask, when would it make sense? When would you like me? When would you like to hear from me again? Again, we always get invited. We never force, because if we force, we don't know if the prospect's actually interested or if they're just politely trying to get rid of us and get us off the phone by telling us what we want to hear. And then we get happy ears and jump all over it. So we always get invited. when would you like to hear from me again? And getting the prospect to tell you, number one, they've given you an email address. They've told you they don't have anybody that they're working with. They told you when they want to hear from you again. Okay. And so that's what sets you up to generate a high quality lead in one of, in my opinion, the best real estate listing lead opportunities, because it's these types of leads will always continue to be just that, an opportunity, regardless of what's happening in market conditions. So just to recap, again, you can grab these leads, this opportunity that are fresh. Vulcan 7, from my understanding, just launched these. There's a link to grab those leads in the description. And then not just the probate script, but you can grab my entire script book right now. It's also, the link is also in the description.